So I'm back once again at Millstone Edge in the Peak District for another day of climbing. This time we're in the Green Death area and I'm here to do a spicy E4 called Jealous Pensioner. But I don't really fancy jumping straight on the lead on that, so first I'm going to do a nice VS 4C called Crewcut. An intimidating layback up the imposing straight crack. Fortunately, it is easier than it looks, though the right wall is often a bit green and slippery. Threaded chalk stones or large cams protect. Those heading stateside might want to offwidth it just for the practice, a whole different ball game at 5'9". So I start heading up Crewcut and you'll see at the start that there's lots of these drilled shot holes since this was a quarry, and I've put a green totem in one of them to protect the start, and these shot holes will also come in very handy for protecting the E4 later. The first interesting bit of this climb is getting around this large bulging flake. It's not too difficult since the flake creates a bit of a slab, but it is very awkward. And you can see me using a cheeky knee there to help me get a high foot onto the flake. And then it's just a matter of pulling on some quite good holds to pull yourself over the flake and to the next bit of protection. And once I'm stood on the flake, I can get my next bit of protection, which is a purple number 5 cam, which is pretty essential for this route. And then I stand up into the corner and I'm able to go hands-free to sling a chalk stone, which took me a few attempts, but eventually I got it. And the chalk stone was pretty wobbly, so I moved the cam up to back it up, which turned out to be a bit of a mistake for later. A bit more intimidating than I thought it would be. My original plan was to lay back this section since I'd already offwidthed it before and I know it's a lot of effort, but the edge wasn't as nice as I hoped it would be, so I decided to just jam with a combination of fist hand stacks and knee locks. And when you're in a knee lock and you sat on your own leg, you can go hands free, which allowed me to retrieve the cam from earlier, which was a bit awkward. There we go, got my cam back. The process of offwidthing this is to use the hand fist stacks to edge your way up into a new knee lock, and then you can go hands free and bump the cam up. This is a lot of physical effort, and it's very demoralising every time you sink down onto your own leg and it feels like you've lost a bit of progress. But you just have to persevere with the process and edge your way up. It is also a big relief every time you're able to go hands-free. So you just keep edging up, bumping the cam, edging up, bumping the cam, edging up, bumping the cam. Almost done. And when you're almost at the end of this section, you get a nice crimp that you can use instead of the jams, which was a big relief to me. And then I bump the cam one final time and use the lip of the ledge to mantle up. Once you stood on this small ledge, you get a good rest where I place a grey number 4 cam as the crack gets narrower, and then I also retrieve the number 5 cam to back it up. And this is where I'll leave them to protect the final section. This third section is definitely easiest to lay back since the crack becomes narrower and you can't use knee locks anymore. It's quite bold, but the feet are good and the edge of the crack is nice here. Alright. Beach whale. So yeah, not the most graceful top out, but I made it. So I set up my anchor and belayed up the second, and the reason I did this easier climb is to set up a fixed line on the main event. Jealous Pensioner, E4 5C. The centre of the drilled wall gives an odd pitch with worrying stretches to and from the ledge. Ingenious use of the various bore holes for protection can make it reasonably safe. And of course it has the fluttering heart symbol because it's very run out. The guidebook discusses these bore holes which offer protection in the form of tricams or aliens or bent back nuts or totems. Unfortunately for me, most of these bore holes are less than a third of the way up the route. So I used top rope soloing techniques to practice the route first and figure out all the moves because I really did not want to fall on this one. And I also used this opportunity to figure out the protection. There's only 3 pieces in total across the 20-metre route, and these come in the form of a green totem followed by 2 2.5 tricams. This route is in 3 sections with ledges between, which is where you get your protection, and the second section is the hardest, with the crux being at the most run out point when you're furthest away from your gear. It was very hot and sunny that day, and I was quite sweaty and I wasn't sure if I was actually going to go for this, but on my final practice run, the sun went behind the clouds and I decided that was when I was going to go for it. So here's the main event, Jealous Pensioner. The first section of Jealous Pensioner begins by using the bore holes. You can either use them as pockets or pinch between 2 of them. Being an indoor climber mostly, I like this section because it's very obvious where to put your hands and feet, and you're not struggling to route read like on many outdoor climbs. Practicing on top rope solo also helped because I knew which of the pockets were best and which combination of 2 pockets were good to pinch between. After this first section of unprotected climbing, we reach the first piece of gear, which is a green totem. You definitely could place gear before this in any of the other bore holes. It'd be a long, hard fall down to the ground if I fell before this first piece, but I only had 3 appropriate bits of gear that would fit in these bore holes, so I had to use them sparingly. Now is the first interesting part of this climb, where you have to pop for the ledge. So I use the bore holes to get my feet nice and high, reach up for a crimp, and then a big stretch to the ledge. Once I'm mantled onto the ledge, this is where my second and most important piece of protection comes in. Using the first of my 2 tricams. I've never fallen on a tricam, and I don't intend to today. I have it preloaded with a 40cm quick draw, and I've also had to use a very small carabiner so that the carabiner doesn't run along the edge because the bore hole is not very deep. I also put a DMM revolver carabiner on this quick draw just to reduce rope drag because this one is slightly out of the way. I wouldn't want to use a longer quick draw because this next section is already run out enough as it is. I should add, as I rest here, that this grade of E4 5C is my hardest trad route to date, my previous hardest being only E1 5B, quite a step up. So after a quick rest, I'm ready to begin the crux. Already starting this section above the gear. I start by using the obvious holds and smearing up this little ramp, which allows me to get my foot into the vertical shot hole, and then a dynamic pop for a side pull. And then I move my feet onto some very dodgy smears, and while trying not to think about how far above the gear I am, I throw for the ledge.
Oh, bloody hell. I thought I was off then.
So yeah, I almost fell off the crux. Not sure what would have happened if I fell. Don't think I would have quite hit the ground, but it would have been a very nasty fall. Very glad I didn't. Now, the last piece of protection, final tricam. I'm not exactly sure how safe it is placed vertically like this, but it's all I've got. Just thought I'd swap the direction of the quick draw around. I was a little panicked after that scare and I wanted to be extra safe. Now I just compose myself after my big scare and focus on the final part of the climb. The last part of this climb is literally just one move, although you are very high above the gear. You get your right foot on this really nice foothold, and then in a big arcing motion, you jump for the ledge. And with that, I made it.
Oh, fucking hell. I thought I was off at the crux. Absolutely shit my pants.
Thanks for watching. Check out my other videos for more trad and more indoor climbing. See you again soon.